So yeah, tonight the topic is simply discussing families that suffer. And whether we believe it or not, there are a lot of families throughout the nation that are privately and secretly suffering. And families are suffering because instead of addressing certain situations, we believe in praying. Now let me clarify what I'm saying here.
Yeah, do that because a lot of people gonna take it and run.
Prayer is awesome. I believe in prayer. Prayer is a communication that you have with our good Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And without prayer, we don't have much room for anything. So that's your communication line. But God also gives us the ability to use our common sense. And if we lack to use common sense, therefore we lack to address certain things. And in certain families, we sit amongst each other with so much bitterness, so much tension, so much hatred among each other because of things that has happened in the past that nobody was bold enough to address. Nobody was bold enough to say, hey, this is what happened. We need to fix it. We need to work it out some kind of way and let's move on from it. But instead, now what family, and this has been happening, it is a generational curse. Things go on in the family, and instead of us addressing what has happened, we decide to sweep it under the rug. Mm-hmm. And then when you sweep it under the rug, it causes generations of families to be torn apart. Mm-hmm. So grandma and all them, their generation was broke up. Your generation jacked up. The generation to come is really going to be jacked up because nobody wants to address things that has happened. And it is an underlying issue. It is an underlying drama that causes the family to tear apart. And then when the family tear apart, we're quick to say, we all got to come together and pray. It wasn't prayer that tore the family apart. What tore the family apart was nobody wanted to address situations and problems that happened. So here we are years later still fighting and battling things that has happened years ago. So what I need for you all to do, take some notes. You have to address the problems that has happened. Because if nobody decides to address them, guess what? The family will forever stay torn apart. Mm-hmm. It'll forever stay torn apart. Mm-hmm. And we have certain cliques, certain parents only talk to certain children, or fathers are not being in their children's lives. It is very, very important that every little girl and every little boy needs their mother and their father. That's right. Whether it be biological or whether a mother stepped in or whether a father stepped in. I believe society calls it a stepfather or a stepmother. And, things happen. Let's be realistic. Things happen. Sometimes relationships don't go so great. This may go along with Valentine's Day. I don't know yet. I'm see how I'm gonna reel it in. Things happen, and sometimes relationships don't work out. And then in the midst of a relationship not working out, a child is conceived. And instead of parents being honest with their children, telling them, "Hey, this is the situation. This is This is what you need to know, and this is what you need to understand." But we don't do that. We sweep it under the rug because we don't want the things that we've done in the dark. We don't want them to come out in the light.
Don't want them old roads to talk.
We don't want the old roads to talk. Yeah. And we don't want anybody to find out what we used to do and who we used to do it with. Therefore, we keep quiet. And we don't want to say anything. Then years later, when the problem resurfaces, you're mad because somebody's questioning you about what happened and what tore the family apart. The audacity for you to get upset because somebody questioned what you done. You can't get upset. It is what it is. It happened. And if you never address it, your family will always be torn apart. Your children are torn apart. Their children are torn apart. Then when they have their children, it's torn apart because things are constantly happening that nobody wants to address. It's broke, torn apart, scattered. Families here, families there. And then when you come to family functions, it's the same thing. They're scattered. Certain family members sit with this clique, they sit with that clique, and they hang with that clique. And it happens. And it is a problem. But it will continue to happen because nobody wants to address it. Nobody wants to be labeled as the bad person or the person who spoke up and said something. I was having a conversation with an elder, and it came about that, oh, if the roads could tell it all, and if motel beds could talk. Come on, somebody. If the back seat of the Oldsmobile could talk, some of us would be in some deep, deep trouble because we've hid it for such a long time. And then when the person decides to speak out and share how they feel, they're the bad person. They're not supposed to say anything. It's supposed to be hush hush. It's supposed to be quiet. It don't work like that. You will never begin the healing process until everything is just laid out on the table. The healing process will never ever begin. And therefore, that's where the subtopic comes in at of the underlying drama. You get the family functions, but nobody's getting along. You get to weddings, nobody's getting along. You plan funerals because somebody passed away, nobody's getting along. Everybody's there, but nobody's getting along. Why? Because of things that were never addressed in the beginning. Mm-hmm. We have to address those things. When's the last time you had a family reunion? When's the last time you had a family gathering? Because the last time you had it, everybody cut the food and nobody wanted to get together again. You got to address it. And that's what's wrong with society. That is what's wrong with our families today. We have so much undercover stuff that has happened. And people are hurting. People are suffering in silence, tossing and turning, dealing with depression, dealing with anxiety. You got mothers only raising the children when we know that fathers help bring them into the world. We got some fathers that are only raising the children. It's very, very sad. It's very, very sad. You have some mothers who have to put in all the work because I think society calls it because the baby daddy does not want to contribute to his child's well-being. Or because the mother never told the man that, hey, this is your child, and we sweep it under the rug. Mm-hmm. These are issues that are happening in society that nobody wants to talk about. Nobody wants to mention it because hurt feelings, emotions get in the way. And we're quick to say, oh, well, it was in the past. It was in the past, but it still has to be addressed. Right. Because if it's not addressed, it's here in our present day, and then it will also be in our future.
Because it's really killing families.
Talk to the people.
It is. It's killing families. It's killing strong relationships and strong bonds that our grandparents and great-grandparents prayed for to keep the family going. And it's just, for a lot of families, I know it's a lot of families that's suffering. And, this stuff has to change. It has to change. We're supposed to love one another, be there for one another, and we're not doing that. We're not fulfilling that job. We're going at it half-stepping, hatred. Don't want to go to certain functions because other people are there. So it's just...
And y'all know how it be when them group messages come out and they say it's going to be a certain event going on. And the first thing we say is so-and-so going to be there. Or does so-and-so know about it? Oh, it's secrets. It's secrets in families. And it's sad. And what's very, very sad within a family is that outsiders know about things that happen in the family before you know about it. That's how you know it's sad. That's how you know families are suffering. Because social media finds out about it before family. That's how you know families are suffering. Mm-hmm. Suffering drastically because nobody want to talk about it. I don't see why not. It is what it is. Yeah. And people... they get in these relationships and the relationships are already tainted before you get in them. But you get in them trying to make it work because grandma, all of them say you pray about it and it's going to work out. You have to use your common sense, folks. You have to use it. You have to use it because if not, you find yourself dealing with the same problems everybody else dealt with in the family. They all been divorced and married 3 and 4, 5 times. Here you are, divorced and married 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. Mm-hmm. And then here you are, you're suffering. You're suffering the same way they suffer. But they won't give you the key. They won't give you guidance. They won't help you out along the way because you are in the same boat as them. So when we look at it, that means you are no better than them. So people begin to accept that because they don't want to be the ones, I messed up or I done it. So what they do, they sit around and they point the finger and they find fault in everybody else but themselves. They find fault in everybody else's relationships. And you have to be very careful. Mm-hmm. Parents, you have to be very, very careful how you allow other individuals in your family and your circle, how they joke about your children. Mm-hmm. You have to be very, very careful of the things that you allow them to say, not only about your spouse, but about you and about your children.
That's right.
Oh, there's some truth in some of them jokes. Mm-hmm. There's a whole lot of truth. And the jokes are just simply things that other folks and them have already set up and talked about. But we'll say it jokingly.
To see your reaction.
Just to see how you're going to react.
Yeah.
Just to see.
Right.
What you got to say to them?
Nothing. I'm listening to you, and we're not, I don't want people to think that we're on here bashing families or, we're trying to help you identify the problem so that we can, or that you can correct the problem.
Yeah. So
families can start to bond again, to come together again, because right now, family, it's a big issue, man.
And let me say this, and if somebody is watching this and they feel, like I'm bashing families, then you missed the whole message of what I'm speaking about.
Right.
If you tuned in and you are saying that, they're bashing family members, no, you missed the whole message. The message is primarily helping families to stop and break the cycle of suffering. Because family have been keeping secrets and have been keeping things private for far too long. And you have certain family members who are living, but they are suffering every single day because of decisions that other family members made on their behalf.